I used to dread getting out of bed in the morning. Every day started the same way, a sharp pain shooting through my lower back as I tried to stand, followed by that familiar stiffness in my joints that made even the simplest tasks feel impossible. At 72, I'd resigned myself to thinking this was just what aging looked like. The grandmother who once chased her grandkids around the yard was now the grandmother who couldn't bend down to pick up a dropped spoon without wincing. My doctor kept saying the same thing, "Margaret, it's just part of getting older." But deep down, I refused to accept that chronic pain had to define my golden years. I just didn't know there was another way. Until I discovered something that would completely transform my life. You know, it's funny how we adapt to pain. We start making these little compromises without even realizing it. For me, it started with avoiding the stairs in my own home. Then I stopped gardening, which had always been my passion. Soon, I was turning down invitations to family gatherings because I knew I couldn't sit comfortably for more than 30 minutes. The real breaking point came at my youngest granddaughter's birthday party. She wanted me to help her blow out the candles, but when I tried to bend down to her level, the pain was so intense that tears welled up in my eyes. I covered it well, or at least I thought I did, but later that night, my daughter called me. "Mom," she said, "we need to talk about what happened today." I tried to brush it off, but she wouldn't let me. "You're missing out on living," she told me. "And we're missing you." Those words hit me hard. I'd been so focused on managing my pain that I hadn't realized how much of life I was actually missing. My chronic pain wasn't just affecting me, it was affecting everyone who loved me. That night, I made a promise to myself. I would stop accepting pain as my new normal. I would find a way back to living fully, no matter what it took. After that birthday party, I went back to my doctor, determined to find a better solution than the pain medications that left me feeling foggy and disconnected. I expected him to refer me to another specialist or suggest a different prescription. Instead, he surprised me. "Have you ever considered aquatic fitness, Margaret?" he asked. I almost laughed out loud. Swimming. At my age. With my arthritic joints and back pain. It seemed ridiculous. "I'm not talking about swimming laps," he explained, seeing my skepticism. "I'm talking about specialized water exercises designed for people with chronic pain and mobility issues." He told me about a program called Water Workout Therapy at the community center just 10 minutes from my home. The instructor specialized in helping seniors with chronic pain conditions. The water's buoyancy, he explained, would support my body weight and reduce strain on my joints, while still allowing me to build strength and flexibility. I was doubtful, but desperate enough to try anything. I left his office with a prescription, not for pills, but for aquatic fitness sessions. Looking back now, that prescription changed everything. I'll never forget my first water workout class. I arrived early, nervous and self-conscious in my old swimsuit. The instructor, a woman named Claire who couldn't have been more than 40, greeted me with a warmth that immediately put me at ease. "The water is your friend," she told me as I hesitantly stepped into the pool. "It will hold you up when you need support and provide resistance when you need strength." The warm water felt soothing as it enveloped my aching joints. For the first time in years, I felt weightless. The constant pressure on my spine seemed to melt away, and I could move without that familiar jolt of pain. I looked around at the other participants, men and women mostly my age or older, some with obvious mobility issues, others who appeared more physically capable. But everyone moved at their own pace, modifying exercises as needed. That first class was gentle, basic movements to improve circulation and flexibility. Nothing strenuous, nothing jarring. Just fluid, controlled motions that seemed to work with my body rather than against it. By the end of that hour, something remarkable had happened. The pain hadn't disappeared completely, but it had shifted. It felt more manageable somehow, less overwhelming. And I experienced something I hadn't felt in years, a sense of accomplishment in my own body. I drove home that day with something I hadn't expected to find in that pool: hope. As I continued attending classes, I became curious about why water exercise was so effective for my chronic pain. Claire, my instructor, was a wealth of knowledge on the subject. "It's not just about feeling good in the moment," she explained during one session. "There's solid science behind why aquatic fitness works so well for chronic pain conditions." She told me about hydrostatic pressure, how the water creates a gentle, consistent pressure on the body that helps reduce inflammation and swelling. This was particularly beneficial for my arthritic joints, which often felt hot and swollen after even moderate activity on land. Then there's the buoyancy factor. In water, we weigh approximately 90% less than on land. This dramatic reduction in body weight means significantly less stress on joints and pain points. I could do movements in water that would have been impossible or agonizing on land. The resistance of water also plays a crucial role, Claire continued. Unlike air, water provides resistance in all directions. This means every movement becomes a gentle, strengthening exercise, helping build the supportive muscles around your painful joints without straining them. What fascinated me most was learning about how water exercise affects our brain's pain perception. The sensory input from the water, the gentle pressure, the temperature, the sensation of floating, actually competes with pain signals, essentially distracting the brain from focusing on chronic pain. For someone who had tried everything from prescription medications to meditation for pain management, understanding the science behind why I was feeling better gave me confidence that this wasn't just a temporary fix. There were real, physiological reasons why aquatic fitness was helping my chronic condition. Progress didn't happen overnight. There were days when the pain still got the better of me, days when I questioned whether all this effort was worth it. But slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, things began to change. 3 weeks into my water workout journey, I noticed I could reach into the upper kitchen cabinets without that familiar stab of pain in my shoulder. A month in, I made it through an entire family dinner without having to excuse myself to stretch or rest my back. 6 weeks after starting, I realized I'd gone an entire day without taking pain medication. That night, I sat on the edge of my bed and cried, not from pain, but from the overwhelming realization that I was reclaiming parts of my life I thought were lost forever. Claire encouraged us to celebrate these small victories. Healing isn't linear, she would remind us. It's about accumulating these moments of progress until one day you realize how far you've come. One of my proudest moments came about 2 months into my aquatic fitness journey. My granddaughter had left her favorite stuffed animal on the floor during a visit. Without thinking, I bent down to pick it up, a movement that would have once required careful planning and bracing for pain. It wasn't until I was already standing back up, toy in hand, that I realized what I'd done. Such a simple action, but it felt monumental. These small victories created momentum. Each one gave me the confidence to push a little further, try a little harder in my next class. And as my physical capabilities expanded, so did my world. What I didn't expect when I started aquatic fitness was the profound sense of community I would find there. In that pool, 3 times a week, I discovered a group of people who understood exactly what I was going through. There was Robert, a 78-year-old former construction worker with chronic back pain from decades of physical labor. Martha, 69, managing rheumatoid arthritis that had progressively worsened over the past decade. Thomas, 82, recovering from a stroke that had left him with limited mobility on his left side. We came from different backgrounds, had different conditions, different stories, but we shared a common goal: to reclaim our lives from chronic pain. We celebrated each other's progress, no matter how small. We noticed when someone was having a difficult day and offered encouragement. We shared tips about managing pain between classes and laughed together at our occasional clumsiness in the water. "You know what I love about this group?" Martha said to me one day as we were changing after class. "No one here tells you to just push through the pain or that it's all in your head. Everyone gets it." She was right. There was an unspoken understanding among us that made me feel seen in a way I hadn't in years. My family was supportive, of course, but they couldn't truly understand what chronic pain felt like. In that pool, I never had to explain or justify my limitations. Over time, our connections extended beyond the community center. We started meeting for coffee after class, exchanging phone numbers, checking in on each other if someone missed a session. What began as a prescribed therapy had evolved into a vital social lifeline. Claire often reminded us that chronic pain doesn't just affect the body. It impacts our emotional and social well-being too. Isolation is one of the most damaging side effects of chronic pain, she would say. Building connections is just as important as building strength. In that warm water, moving together through our exercises, I found not just physical healing, but a sense of belonging that had been missing from my life for too long. I wish I could tell you that my journey with aquatic fitness has been nothing but steady improvement, but that wouldn't be honest. About 4 months into my new routine, I experienced a significant flare-up of pain. I'm still not sure what triggered it. Perhaps I'd pushed myself too hard in class, or maybe it was the change in weather as winter approached. Whatever the cause, the pain came roaring back with a vengeance. I spent 3 days barely able to get out of bed, feeling defeated and frightened. All the progress I'd made seemed to evaporate overnight, and dark thoughts crept in. What if this was all temporary? What if I was fooling myself, thinking I could overcome chronic pain? I missed a week of classes. Then another. The longer I stayed away, the harder it seemed to go back. I was embarrassed to return after my absence, afraid I'd lost all the strength and mobility I'd worked so hard to build. It was Robert who finally called me. "We miss you at class," he said simply. "The pool isn't the same without you." When I confessed my fears, he shared something I'll never forget. "Margaret," he said, "healing isn't about never falling back. It's about learning to get up again, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard." His words gave me the courage to return. That first class back was difficult. I had indeed lost some ground. Movements that had become easier were challenging again. But Claire modified everything for me, reminding me that healing isn't a straight line. "Pain flare-ups are part of the journey," she told me after class. "They don't erase your progress. They're just reminders to listen to your body and adjust accordingly." That setback taught me something crucial about managing chronic pain. Persistence matters more than perfection. Some days would be better than others. Some weeks I would make tremendous progress, and other times I might need to scale back. The key was to keep showing up, to be consistent without being rigid, to practice self-compassion alongside determination. I now understand that managing chronic pain is not about finding a permanent cure, but about developing resilience, physical and emotional tools to navigate the ups and downs. Aquatic fitness has given me those tools, along with the community to support me through the inevitable challenging days. The benefits of my water workout journey have extended far beyond pain management. About 6 months into my regular aquatic fitness routine, I noticed changes that surprised even me. My sleep had improved dramatically. For years, I'd struggled with insomnia, often lying awake as pain made it impossible to find a comfortable position. Now I was sleeping deeper and longer, waking feeling genuinely rested for the first time in decades. My mood stabilized too. The chronic stress of constant pain had left me irritable and sometimes depressed. While I hadn't recognized it at the time, looking back, I can see how pain had darkened my outlook on everything. As the physical discomfort became more manageable, I found myself laughing more, engaging more fully in conversations, feeling more present in my own life. Even my cognitive function seemed sharper. The brain fog that I'd attributed to just getting older began to lift. I could focus better, remember details more clearly, and felt more mentally alert throughout the day. Claire explained that these improvements weren't coincidental. Chronic pain taxes every system in your body, she told me. When you reduce that burden, you free up energy for everything else: sleep, emotional regulation, cognitive function. It's all connected, perhaps. Most surprisingly, my relationship with my body transformed. For years, I'd viewed my aging body as the enemy, something that had betrayed me, limited me, caused me suffering. Through aquatic fitness, I began to appreciate what my body could still do rather than focusing on its limitations. I remember one morning, about 7 months into my water workout journey, catching a glimpse of myself in the mirror as I was getting dressed. I stood taller. My movements were more fluid. There was a strength in my posture that had been absent for years. I realized I was looking at my body with gratitude rather than resentment, perhaps for the first time since pain had become my constant companion. "You've changed," my daughter remarked during a family dinner. "It's not just that you're in less pain. You seem lighter somehow. More like yourself." She was right. The benefits of aquatic fitness had created a positive ripple effect through every aspect of my life. I wasn't just managing pain better, I was living better. As my own transformation continued, I found myself wanting to share what I'd learned with others struggling with chronic pain. So many seniors I knew had resigned themselves to limited lives, believing, as I once had, that pain was simply the price of aging. I started small, inviting a neighbor who used a cane to join me for a beginner's class. Then I spoke at my church's senior group about my experience. I created a simple flyer about water workout therapy and asked my doctor if I could leave copies in his waiting room. To my surprise, people responded. They were hungry for hope, for alternatives to medication, for approaches that treated them as whole people rather than collections of symptoms. "I never thought I could do something like this at my age," one woman told me after her first class. She was 84 and had been virtually housebound due to osteoarthritis. "Thank you for not giving up on me when I'd given up on myself." Claire noticed my evangelism and asked if I'd consider training to become a peer mentor for newcomers to the program. The idea both terrified and excited me. Me, a mentor. The woman who had once been barely able to climb her own stairs. But that was precisely why it made sense. I understood the fear, the skepticism, the resignation that many seniors felt when first approaching aquatic fitness. I could meet them where they were because I had been there myself. Last month, I completed my certification as a senior aquatic fitness peer mentor. I now assist Claire with the beginner classes twice a week, helping newcomers adjust to the water and find modifications that work for their specific conditions. "You're a natural at this," Claire told me recently. "You speak their language. You understand their journey. It's strange to think that my pain, something I once viewed as nothing but a burden, has given me this new purpose. By sharing my story, by guiding others through those first tentative steps into the water, I'm transforming my suffering into something meaningful. When I see the look of surprise and delight on a newcomer's face as they experience movement without pain for the first time in years, I feel a profound sense of fulfillment. My own journey has become a beacon for others, proof that chronic pain doesn't have to be the end of the story. It's been almost 2 years since I first stepped into that pool, terrified and skeptical but desperate for relief. Today, at 74, I can honestly say I'm more active, more engaged with life, and experiencing less pain than I was at 65. Do I still have pain? Yes, some days. Aquatic fitness hasn't erased my chronic conditions. The arthritis is still there. My back still has structural issues that will never completely resolve. But the difference is in how I relate to that pain, how I manage it, and how much space I allow it to take up in my life. I've learned that managing chronic pain is not about finding a magic solution that makes it disappear forever. It's about building a toolkit of strategies that help you live well despite it. For me, aquatic fitness has become the cornerstone of that toolkit, not just for the physical benefits, but for the mental resilience, social connections, and sense of agency it has restored to my life. Last week, something remarkable happened. My youngest granddaughter, the same one whose birthday party had been my wake-up call 2 years ago, asked me to teach her to swim. As we played in the shallow end of the pool, her tiny hands gripping mine as she kicked her little feet, I was struck by the symmetry of it all. Water had given me back my mobility, my independence, my joy. Now I was using that same element to connect with the next generation, to build memories that neither of us would forget. That evening, as I watched her proudly demonstrate her new skills to her parents, my daughter squeezed my hand. "Thanks, Mom," she whispered. "Not just for today, but for fighting your way back to us," I felt. Tears well up, but they weren't tears of pain or regret. They were tears of profound gratitude for the journey, for the struggle, and yes, even for the pain that had ultimately led me to this new chapter of my life. Because that's what this is, not an ending, but a new beginning. At 74, I'm not just surviving my golden years, I'm thriving in them. And the ripples from that first courageous step into the pool continue to spread, touching lives beyond my own in ways I never could have imagined. If you're listening to this and recognizing your own story and mine, if chronic pain has been stealing your joy, limiting your world, making you feel that the best parts of your life are behind you, I want you to hear me clearly. It doesn't have to be this way. You don't have to accept pain as your new normal. You don't have to give up the activities and connections that make life meaningful. And you certainly don't have to face this journey alone. Aquatic fitness might not be the answer for everyone. We're all different, with unique bodies, unique conditions, unique circumstances. But I hope my story encourages you to keep searching for your own path to relief, whether that's in a warm pool, a gentle yoga class, or something else. Entirely. What matters is that you don't give up on yourself, that you remain open to possibilities, that you remember that age is just a number, and pain doesn't have to define your story. I invite you to explore water workout therapy for yourself. Look for programs specifically designed for seniors, or those with chronic pain conditions. Ask your doctor for recommendations. Visit your local community center, YMCA, or aquatic facility to inquire about classes. And remember, that first step is always the hardest. Walking into that pool area in my old swimsuit, feeling vulnerable and uncertain, was one of the most difficult things I've ever done. But it was also one of the most rewarding. 2 years later, I can honestly say, the water was waiting for me all along. And if you're ready, it's waiting for you too. This is Margaret, signing off not from the sidelines of life, but right in the middle of it. Thank you for listening to my story.